Well, the royal game of Or is a board of 20 squares in a rather idiosyncratic form. And it was pretty much unknown until the 1920s when Sir Leonard Woolley was digging at the site of Or. And in the graves of the royal family, the Sumerian rulers, they found 4 or 5 boards of this pattern, together with dice and pieces, which showed that it was popular among them at this time, and also that wherever they were going in the world to come, they would want to be playing it. And so that was one thing. And we had the number of pieces and some dice. So lots of people had ideas about how it might have been played. And that went on like that for a very long time. And thereafter, boards for this game turned up in most of the countries of the Middle East. Sometimes quite a lot of them. And the one from Ur dates to about 2600 BC. And from then down to the end of the first millennium, there's examples of boards from Mesopotamia itself and from Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, Greece, Crete, all over the place. And when you put all the boards together, you realize that you're dealing with a board game which was extremely widespread and extremely popular.
Across space and time.
Across space and time. So it lasted for nearly 3,000 years, and it was played all over the place. So it's one of those games which is like chess or backgammon, which you can say are world conquerors. Because the way I see the issue is that human beings for a very long time have been, shall we say, hungry for things to do. Because all through the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, there was no television. You know, there weren't no nothing. And kids played with pull-along things, and adults had board games, and they're kind of embedded in culture from a very early time. And this game was so widespread. You know, Tutankhamun, for example, in his tomb, there were 2 or 3 boards for it with the pieces. So it arrived in the middle of the second millennium in Egypt, and even the pharaoh played it. So you have a game which, the interesting point about it is that it spread across the known world without written rules and without people necessarily knowing the same language. So a merchant would end up in a bar, you know, come from India or I don't know where, start seeing these guys playing, have a go himself, and it looks rather interesting. You go home and try and remember what it looked like and try and work out how to, you know, be transported this way and the other. And so you can see that the board has 20 squares. So you have a block of 4 by 3, and then a bridge of 2, and then a second 3 by 2 thing at the end. So it's difficult to describe the actual shape. But what happened was, after about 2000 BC, the squares at the far end, of which there were 2 on one flank and 2 on the other, were all put at the end of the central avenue. Mm-hmm. So you end up with 12 squares down the middle. So all the boards after the period of Ur have 12 squares down the middle and then 4 on each side at one end. Mm. So it meant then that when you play the game, you have dice to move the pieces, you have pieces all the same, and you obviously put them on your first corner, and you turn the corner, you go up the middle and off the end. And it was a race game of the kind that everybody knows from their own childhood. And some squares which had rosettes on were either safe squares or you had another throw. And you could maybe put 2 on one square, we don't know. You could try and block people. But anyway, the crucial thing is that the widespread distribution of this idiosyncratic shape and its lasting thing shows it must have been a very good game if people more or less played the same thing on it everywhere. I mean, it may be that there were completely different games, but probably not. So this is the thing. It makes you wonder what would be about it that would fit so well with a wide appetite from different persons, different types of person. And the thing is that although it's a race game where you're at the mercy of dice and lucky squares and unlucky squares, that the process of getting your pieces on and off the board as a winner is primarily fortuitous. But it has built within it, that's the way I understand the game plays, a measurable quota of strategy.
It's a mix of probability and strategy.
Yeah. So most games are either just probability, like snakes and ladders, shoots and ladders, it's just a thing like that. Or you have a game like chess, which is pure strategy.
It's a mix.
And the grown-up game in the modern world, where fortuity or chance and strategy have a good balance, is backgammon, which is a sort of grown-up version of this sort of game, where nevertheless, if you play according to the most rational interpretation, its strategy is a major factor. So what happened was that many people had ideas how it was played, and the route followed, and I did too. And then I discovered this tablet in the British Museum, which was written at a very late period in the 2nd century BC. So 2,300 years after this object existed. And it had on it the names of the pieces and what the pieces were like and various things about the throws. And it was obvious that the rules were to do with a game which was derived from this simple early game. And that working backwards from it, you could reconstruct the game in accordance with its later incarnation that might be workable. And it jolly well turned out to be workable, because people play this all over the world now. And they even play it in Iraq in cafes.
Wait, now?
They do.
Oh,
because
wow.
after it's come back to life, it's on the internet, people play. There are different rules,
That's
but the ones that
amazing.
I invented are pretty much regular. So if you have a good balance between chance and strategy, and it's a fair game, and doesn't take 4 days to play like modern board games, so you can have a go, and if you're lucky, you win fast, and then you have another go, maybe best of 3 or something like that.